All right, Steve. Uh, we've got an amazing guest tonight, and we've got a lot to talk about. So we're just going to jump in with both feet. Tanja Gellenthien, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you guys?
We're doing good. It's been a day. It's been a full day, but
It's been a
uh,
full one. I
uh,
guess we ought to just say this real fast and get it out of the way. We just started a recording with Tanya, and it lasted about 4 minutes, and the entire internet system shut down on us. So we're starting just take two. So
Again.
all right, we got that part out of the way, and apologize for that again, but out of our control. So hey, let's just jump right back in it, and here we are.
so Tanya, you've had an amazing season so far this year. I think you've got six podiums, and you're shooting really well. I was in Vegas for the first time this year. I had the opportunity to watch you in the shoot down. I have lots of questions about that, but
Mhm.
I guess before we get into that, I want to go back maybe to the beginning a little bit. I'm really interested to hear about your journey in the sport. Um, as I had indicated when I reached out to you, Steve and I are trying to do a segment here that's focused on women's archery. Obviously, as an archery dad, it's near and dear to my heart. There's so many women that are shooting at such a high level right now, and it's so fun to watch. And so, just as a spectator that enjoys watching high quality archery, Steve and I we do this because we love to learn, and we enjoy hearing the perspective from across the board. Really, we a lot of the interviews we've done are with some of the collegiate archers, but we certainly enjoy the opportunity to kind of pick the brain of the pro women, and so thank you again for being with us. But can you talk a little bit about that? So, how did you get into the sport originally?
Yeah, so well, I think I've been doing it for 15 years now. And I tried it, in school, and I thought it was really cool. So I found a local range, a place I could shoot. And at that range, I found a bunch of kids my age. And I think for me, like the first couple years, that was what really kept me going. Like it's supposed to be fun when you first start out. And for me, it really was. Like shooting was a part of it, but there's also friends and all these other sides to it. Um, and then I think after a couple years, I went to like an archery camp. It was over the summer, and I met one of the guys on the national team. He came and he kind of like coached it for a day. And I don't know if you've heard of Martin Dansbo.
Yes.
Yeah, it was Martin Dansbo. Um, and I was, still fairly new. Just what is archery. And Martin Danspo came out and told about how it was being on the national team, traveling, and like his experiences. And I heard this story, and I was like, I want to do that. And so, as soon as he left, I shot all day. Um, so I was still on like summer break from school and everything, but like when my parents would go to work, they would drop me off at the range and then they'd pick me up on the way home from work. And I would just spend all day at the
Wow.
range. Yeah. And then I think 3 months after that was when I made my first uh, national team trip. I got to go overseas and it just kind of went from there.
In 3 months' time, you accomplished that.
Yeah. I mean, I had already been shooting for a couple years, but in 3 months, I practiced really, really hard and they, yeah, sent me on my
That's
first trip.
reaching that goal at a pretty quick pace, isn't it?
It was a lot of arrows, trust me.
That's amazing. So, was was there a large archery community in your hometown?
So not really. It's a very, very small sport in Denmark. Sorry, my cat is. um, it's a very small sport in Denmark, and there's not very many people who shoot it. But I don't know. If I always feel like if you find the right people, it makes it easier. And I found, Martin Dansbo, and he helped me a lot. And he was the national team coach for a very long time when I first started out. And he has so much knowledge about, setting up bows, but also just the mental side of it and how, to get through all of that. And he's one of the biggest people that I learned from, and, that has taught the young kids coming up now, Matthias Fullerton, who also won Vegas, that's also one of Danspo's, kids that he helped coach all the way. So it's a very, very small community, but the few people that are there are really, really awesome.
Hmm. Because of this, I guess the size of the community there, did you have any issues as far as getting equipment or finding the stuff that you needed to be able to compete? I'm assuming that you just started out in compound.
So I think I shot a recurve for like 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah, I started when I first started out. They gave me a recurve, and I think a week into it, they showed me a compound, and I went, "That looks way too complicated. I don't even want to go there." And then 2 months later, they brought it back out, and they're like, "Just try it." I shot one arrow, and I was like, "You're not getting this out of my hands."
So do you remember what kind of a bow it was?
Oh no, I wish I did. I wish I did. It was
Interesting.
probably like a mission or something.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun though. But after that, because it's also a small country and we don't have a lot. My first bow that I bought was Stefan Hansen's old bow, because he was a little bit bigger and taller than me. So when he would outgrow a bow, I would buy his bow, and I think I bought 2 or 3 of his bows.
That's not a bad hand me down
No,
situation there. I mean,
yeah.
if you got to get hand me downs, I mean, Stefan, why not? Why not Stefan? That's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. It kind of worked out.
So
So you made national team when you were 13? Am I hearing all
So
this correctly?
I think I was 15 at the time. Yeah.
15? Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
that is incredible. So family. Now you and Braden live in Kentucky. You've been in Kentucky for a couple of years now. Is that right?
2 years, yeah.
2 years.
Mhm.
Your family all still in Denmark? Yes.
Yeah, also in Denmark, the whole family,
Okay.
but they come and visit a lot, so it makes it better.
Well, that's good. So are you the only one in I guess in your nuclear family that shoots archery, or does your dad or your brother or anybody?
So no, I'm the only one. Weirdly enough, it was just something that I picked up. Um, they all think it's really really cool and are super supportive of it, and they love to hear about it and follow along. But just just me. I've tried to, I've taught my brother how to shoot and my dad, but it's not something they do a whole lot of.
Okay. Um, so not new news to the world. I guess I'm not giving away any secrets here, but I think you recently shared that you and Braden are expecting your first child. So congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. We're super excited and scared.
Well, I was talking with Steve earlier. I said, well, Tanya's a professional archer, but I just want you to know that Steve and I are both professional dads. So if you have any questions or if you need to know anything, just ask. Don't be afraid.
We have all the answers.
Yeah.
I might take you up on that.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll have tons of questions when the time comes.
Well, we're excited for you. That's awesome news. So, um, You said, you're due in August? Is that?
Yeah, due in August, right around the ASA Classic and USA Nationals. So we'll we'll see how many events I get to go to and the timing with everything.
Well,
Okay.
I was a paramedic for 23 years, so if you go into labor at the range, I'll take care of you. Just go ahead and shoot.
Perfect.
Uh, so, so many questions there. Well, it's interesting because I remember this was a couple years ago now, but I was at Foley watching the shoot down, and Cara Kelly was extremely pregnant in
Hmm.
that shoot down, and um, I'm curious to know, as you've advanced through the pregnancy, are you noticing, is it changing your shot, or is it affecting how you compete or how you shoot?
So far, it hasn't been super bad. Like I can tell with just normal everyday stuff, you get tired a little bit faster. Um, but I for now I've been fortunate that it's been super easy. But I've also I've talked to both Cara and some of the other girls who shot during the pregnancies, and just kind of know what I'm getting myself into, and you know be prepared for it. But I'm hoping I can keep shooting, you know, the whole way, and it won't be super hard or anything.
So you're feeling good.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Everything's been great so far, so I'm very much hoping it'll keep going.
Well, but yeah, I
That's a
just
challenge that I couldn't even fathom what it's like to try to go through.
the, the archery itself is hard enough.
The archer, right?
You throw that
And,
layer on. I mean,
and then to be pregnant and
uh,
walk those ranges and everything else that goes with it, it's like, man,
I
my
mean, and that's why I bring my husband with me. He can carry all
you're
my
my
stuff.
hero.
Yeah,
that, that's good. That's his job. He should be carrying all the stuff.
exactly.
And I might be breaking man code with this, Steve. So I mean, you can keep me on. I mean, but there's the pregnancy card. Like, you have 9 months to play that card. He has to do everything you ask him to do.
Pretty much, yes.
That's the rule. It's kind
Like,
of cool.
I'm carrying your son, so you have to do this.
Okay, so now that was another thing I didn't know. So it's a boy. We know it's a boy.
It's a boy, yes. Hmm.
Oh,
Yep.
awesome. So do you have any, have you had any like weird pregnancy cravings? Do you have any stories of sending Braden out in the middle of the night for any weird stuff?
I just ice cream. He gets me a
Ice
lot
cream.
of ice cream.
I started to say ice cream and pickles, but
So, Tanya, you and Braden both work for Gas Bowstrings.
Mhm.
Steve and I interviewed Aaron Adams a few weeks back and had a really good conversation with him. But
Yeah.
talk a little bit about your role with Gas.
Yeah, so I do international sales for them, and it just kind of worked out, uh, because I've done a lot of the World Cups and a lot of traveling to all the different countries. So, I know people from most places, and I speak some of the languages, and so it just kind of made sense to take over that role and help out and try to build the brand. It's such a big company in the U.S., and we wanted the rest of the world to, see it too. Um, so that's just kind of been my job to, take orders, but also grow it in the
Hmm.
rest of the world to get them out there. And it's been really, really cool because it started out as, not not very many hours and a little bit here and there. And then as more and more people, or sorry, shops heard about it, it's getting to be a lot bigger job. And I think that's so awesome to just see the company grow overseas as well.
Sure. Um, are there specific regions that you're targeting?
Not necessarily, no. Like we wherever someone is interested in gas bowstrings but we do sell more to Germany or Netherlands. There's a little bit up north in Sweden, Italy, Spain. So it just, for a lot of like the smaller shops, it doesn't make sense to buy them always directly from us. So they'll buy from JVD or a bigger shop just because customs and taxes are so expensive.
Yeah, that was the other thing I was kind of curious about is
Yeah.
the distribution side of that. I mean,
Mhm.
securing the customer is obviously one part of it, but then
Yeah.
just getting the product there has got to be a logistical challenge.
It can be for sure, and especially because we don't always know what customs is going to charge them. We can guess, but it's so different from country to country, and we really have no effect on the number that they end up charging. So it makes it difficult sometimes for sure, but that's why it's pretty cool to have places like JVD that take care of that fee and then ship it to the shops.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you've been in Kentucky for a couple years now.
Yeah.
I haven't heard you use y'all yet.
It comes out once in a while. It does.
Okay.
But I'm doing okay.
So when you go back home to visit in Denmark, do they give you grief about your accent? Do they say that your accent's changed?
It's not they don't get to hear me speak English that much. I usually switch over to my Danish, but once in a while if I'm hanging out at gas or shooting my bow and one of my family members will call and they get to hear some of the people in the background from down here, it makes them laugh.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does.
Yeah, and sometimes when they visit and they meet people here, they just look at me. They're like, I don't know what they're saying.
Were any of your family here at Vegas?
Unfortunately, not. My mom came over. I believe it was right after,
Okay.
and my dad too. So they were here during Foley, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, and my dad was here for indoor nationals.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think I may. I don't know. Now I'm just thinking. I think I might have seen you talking to him out in
You
like
might have seen me.
in the
He's
lobby area.
tall, like twice my height.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. That was him. All right.
Yeah.
So you've got what is the rest of your tournament calendar again around the pregnancy?
Mhm.
What are the events that you have planned out for the rest of this season?
So we're planning to do, the USATs, the whole tour, what is left and what is possible. I would like to do, all the ASAs, NFA stuff. I usually plan to do a couple World Cups too because I love shooting them.
Mm-hmm.
But with the pregnancy and everything, I thought it was a little far to fly when you're like 34 weeks pregnant. So I'm gonna skip that
Mm-hmm.
this year. So sadly, I won't go to any of the World Cups. I'll wait and I'll do some indoor ones for the indoor season and kind of start, indoor season outright. But otherwise, I'll just do mostly domestic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Going back to the pregnancy again, real quick. It's it's a boy.
Mm-hmm.
Have you and Braden been kicking around some names yet?
We have a few up in the air. We don't have anything fully decided yet, but we do have a couple. He likes a more Danish inspired name, which I think is cool.
Hmm.
So we'll
Sorry,
see where
Joe.
we end up with that.
Okay. Well, if you guys reach an impasse on that, I mean, Joe or Steve, they're good, solid.
There you go.
I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm an
Good
idea
idea.
guy. I'm just an idea guy. I just throw out there on the wall, see what sticks. All right, I'm going to shift gears a little bit. I'm going to go a little bit deeper. I'm curious to hear um, who are the shooters that inspire you, and why.
So for me, it's always been the shooters that can lose, but always come back better, if that makes sense. Like, you have to learn how to lose to win, and you're going to lose a lot before you win. And so it's really just looking at the people who can lose with dignity, but also they say to themselves, okay, I lost today and it wasn't pretty, but I know exactly what I need to go home and work on to come back stronger next time. And I think for me, it's always been Martin Danspo, just because he's been there the whole time, and he's done some really awesome stuff in his archery career, and he's never given up. Um, Braden, obviously my husband, it's been really cool to get to watch him do his thing. And I've learned so much from just being with him and just watching him shoot and watch how he manages things, because there's so many different ways to be successful in archery, and everybody does it differently. And the more people you surround yourself with, the more you see, and you kind of like you're able to pick and choose what works for you and build it up that way.
Hmm. We talked about this with Cara a little bit a few weeks ago. There's a couple of what I'll refer to as formal schools of mental management. You've got the Lanny Basham with Winning in Mind. You've got Joel Turner now with his process. Do you subscribe to either of those models, or have you just kind of developed your own strategy?
So, I mean, I haven't read their program or what exactly they do. Um, what I do is probably not too far from it, but over the years, I've taken some from, like I mentioned earlier, from a lot of people that I look up to. But Braden also shared with me a book that he read when he was younger, and I kind of tried to take stuff from that book and then mix it with what I already felt was working for me, and then you know building on that. And the mental part of it is something that takes a lot of years to not even perfect, because you'll never get perfect at it, but just to get better at it. And there'll still be times where it's not perfect and I'll feel like it was a total failure, but it's I think it's something, if you keep working on it, you'll be able to see a lot of progress throughout the years.
So let me dig a little deeper on
I'd
that one with
I'd be
you.
curious,
Yeah, I was just
as
gonna say,
again
like,
as a spectator. I was in Vegas watching that shoot down. Um, it's so interesting. I shot in the tournament myself poorly, um, but I know the nerves that I feel as an amateur shooter in a big tournament. And I'm watching you down on that floor. It's a standing room only auditorium. There's 4,000 people plus. I was nervous and I wasn't even shooting, and I'm watching you, and I can't help but think, right? How, like, what is your mindset in that moment? Can you talk about how you approach that big of the bright lights, all the people, all the things.
Yeah, I mean, the best thing you can do is to forget about the people.
Hmm.
And I know that's really hard. Um, but you're basically trying to make it into just you and the target a practice round. And for me, throughout the years, I've tried to kind of practice letting my mind just flow. Because when you get in situations like that and you get really nervous, and there are going to be bad thoughts, and you can't stop them. So there's no reason to try to stop them. What you can do is you can let them enter and then just let them disappear again. So they kind of just flow through your head. So they don't take charge or decide what your brain does or what your movement does. Um, if that makes sense. So it's just kind of like flow thinking, and it helps for me because then that way you kind of easily get past all the bad thoughts. Um, and then if you can, in between, kind of empty your mind. You can do it, a couple seconds here and there, but it's if you can try to make it as close to a practice as possible. So if it helps you to think about your shot, like make sure you go into the tournament and like every step of your shot, so that when you end up in a situation that you're super nervous, you have something to think about that isn't necessarily, oh wow, look at all the people. Be like, no, okay, I do this and then I need to do this, and that's what's going through your mind, and it doesn't have time to think about, oh no, what if I miss, or all these things.
So, what is your favorite part of your shot? What is the thing about your shot that you like the best?
My favorite shot has always been my execution. I think. Um, I think everybody knows that feeling of a perfect shot, and when you execute it, it feels amazing. Um, and I know if I can find that feeling when I shoot, a match or a final or anything for anything important, if I can get that feeling in there, I know it'll all be okay. And that's kind of what I I try to go for, and I try to find is the last part of my shot where I really know if all the work beforehand made sense or kind of all worked together.
Um, is there a specific piece of the execution that stands out? Maybe I, I'll put it this way. Um, my favorite part of your shot is your follow through. It's the way that your release hand finishes through the shot. It's like a work of art.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's funnily enough also some of the hardest parts of my shot. Um, it is one of the things I practice the most and work the most on. Um, it's one of the things that are very easy to hang up on when you're nervous. So I try to really really perfect it. Um, and most of the time it looks really awesome, and that's that's my goal.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, like I said, if it's a perfect shot, that is the best part of it, and that's where you'll really know if everything else also worked out.
Right. And are you shooting a thumb button currently?
Hmm.
Has it always been a thumb, or do you go back and forth between the hinge and the thumb?
Always a thumb button.
Always a thumb.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Um, another recent event. I see you're decked out in Hoyt gear.
Hmm.
you were with Darton, so there's a change that happened there. Clearly, and I think did Braden do the same?
Yes, he switched to, yeah.
And then you both podiumed at Gator Cup, so clearly the equipment worked well.
Yeah.
So, can you talk about what precipitated the switch back to Hoyt? Because I think were you with Hoyt before you were with Darton?
So I was with Matthews beforehand.
Oh, Matthews, that's right.
Yeah, both me and Braden had been with Matthews for 7 to 10 years or something before that. But before Braden was with Matthews, he was with Hoyt for quite a while. Yeah. But this is my first time with Hoyt, so everything I'm learning is, from the beginning. But it basically just, we found out I was pregnant, and Braden had the rep job with Darton. And the rep job is a job where you have to be on the road a fair bit and visit shops. And he had a pretty big territory, so it went all the way up to Maine, which from Kentucky to Maine is a lot of driving. Yes. And so we just decided that he wouldn't be around much if he had that job, and his parents live a 15-hour drive and my parents live a 15-hour flight from us. So, we have each other and we really need to be there for each other. So just with the baby coming, the job didn't make sense anymore.
Sure. Logistics. Everything is gonna change.
Exactly. And, those were all things that wasn't even on our mind when we originally signed on with Darton. Sometimes things just change. And then with him not having the rep job, there were just some, logistical things that didn't make sense with us staying with Darton. And so Hoyt was happy to have us on the team, and we're excited about it. So it just kind of made sense.
Sure. Well, like I said, I mean, based on Gator Cup, I think that worked out just fine.
Yeah, we're excited.
So, goal setting. What are your goals? Are your goals different now with the baby on the way?
I don't know if they're different. I mean, I'd still like to shoot as much as before, tournaments. There might not be as many international ones, but I'm hoping I can make it work as well. Either me or Braden will, watch the baby, or maybe we'll bring your grandparent out on the trip, or I think Cara brings her mom sometimes, or they leave them at home. Yeah.
Oh,
but
I've seen
baby
Cara's
seat in a
kids.
wagon.
I've seen Cara's kids running around the ASAs with all kinds of different people. I'm sure you're not going to have any problem finding somebody to help with that baby when you go to a tournament venue. I don't think that'll be an issue at all.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping I can keep it on as high of a level as before, and I know it might take me a lot longer to shoot the same amount of arrows as I did before. I can't just go spend 4 hours on the range and get the time or shoot the exact amount of arrows I want done, because I know how long it's going to take. It might be with more breaks and, all that fun stuff, but I'm hoping I can still make it work.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is there, when you look across the body of success that you've had to date in your career, is there something that you're still, when again with the goal setting, is there some box that's on the top of your list that you're still wanting to check?
For me, that would probably be a World Cup final win. Is a box I would love to check off. Um, I won a lot of the stuff that was on my list, and an ASA wouldn't hurt either, or more than one. They just, yeah. ASA's come around a little more often than a World Cup final, so we'll see what comes first.
Sure. Speaking of ASA and just 3D in general, I mean, is shooting 3D fairly new? Did you shoot 3D when you were coming up in Denmark, or was it all just paper?
So I never did. It was only target for me in Denmark, and that was all I knew. I'd never even heard of 3D. And then I met Braden, and he was like, "I'm shooting this tournament called ASA, and we shoot foam animals." And I'm like, "That sounds really weird. What?" And he was like trying to tell me about how the scoring worked and everything. And I think 1 year into dating, he brought me to my first one. And so I've been shooting it for a fair bit of years, but when I first started out, they only had women's snow 45. So I started out there, basically with a target setup, a dot, and and it just kind of grew when Paige came on, and we got the K50, and now the Gnome Pro. And I feel like I've kind of grown with it, if that makes sense. Like, I still shoot so many target tournaments in between that it's hard to dedicate myself fully to the 3D one. So it feels like a slow process. But if I look back at the beginning of it, I can definitely see one. But there's still so much to learn, and
Yeah, I started out on 3D. 3D was all I knew for a lot of years. I'm new to paper, so the paper game is driving me crazy right now. It's just kind of like roles reversed, and obviously I'm
yeah,
a little bit older too. So learning new things, it's it's hard.
time.
Learning's hard. When you think about your career to date, and you see some of the young girls that are coming up, there's several of these collegiate archers that are already jumped into the pro ranks. But when you see them as they come up, what advice would you give them, or any amateur that's aspiring to become a pro? What is something that you would share with them that you wish you knew as you were coming up?
Archery is supposed to be fun, is I think the biggest thing. If you're supposed to enjoy it, even as a pro, like out there, I wouldn't do this if I didn't enjoy my time out on the range and at the tournaments. And I think most pros feel that at some point. There are going to be times when it's not fun, or you're so nervous, you just want to. But if you don't feel the joy in, like, just the little moments in archery, or when you're hanging out and shooting with your friends, or all that stuff, that's where archery is for me. Like, that's why I do it.
That's your happy place.
Yes, exactly.
I could agree with that.
Yeah,
when I'm having a bad day, I just want to go shoot my bow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and we talked about it a little bit with Cara as well. One of the things that I love about archery and the archery community really as a whole,
Yep.
I can have a bad day on the range, but I can appreciate and be happy for Steve if he just knocks it out of the park.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because I enjoy good archery, and
yep.
I would love for that to always come off of my bow, but it doesn't. I can still take joy I can still take joy in watching you in Vegas on the big stage winning the tournament. It's just it's so fun, even as a spectator. I can't even imagine what that must feel like as the shooter. Um,
Yeah, and Tanya, I see you doing that out there too, and that's something I really appreciate watching you is you and Paige or whoever can just be just in a throwdown, and then whether you win or lose, you guys are hugging at the end of it and congratulating each other. That's what it should be, and people that are watching from the stands, they see that and they appreciate that.
Yeah, and I mean, I've known Paige for a while now, and that's one of those things because at every single event and tournament, you meet these people again and again, and it's a lot of the same people, and you really build a close friendship, and a lot of them become like family to you. So for me, it's just natural. If I don't win, of course I'm going to be happy for you. Like you're we're so close that how can I not be?
and you know how much work it's taken
Yes.
to get there.
Yes.
And yeah, I think that's one of the best things. That's one of the things that I love the most about the archery community is that ability to, you're always going to give your very best, but if you fall short on any given day, you can still be happy for and cheer on your friends and your competitors. I think it's a special and unique thing that we share in the archery community. I love it.
I
Yep.
think so too, and I think that's archery is not the biggest sport, but because we're not the biggest sport, I think that is such a big part of it.
Yep, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Um, of all of your accomplishments to date, what's the one that you're most proud of?
Mm. The one that stands out the most is probably my first Vegas win. I think that I don't, the first time you win such a big event is just it's hard to wrap your head around it, and it's one of those things. It doesn't you don't even realize when it's going on, or even right after. It takes a couple of days, and you're like, wait, did that happen? And yeah, so I think for me, that's one of my biggest ones.
I
What's
know I
harder to
ran.
do? What's harder to win a tournament like that the first time or win it the second time?
Definitely the second time.
Is it because of the expectations that other people have on you or the expectations you have on yourself, or is it maybe something totally different that I'm missing?
No, I think it's the expectation on yourself. You think it's supposed to be easier. You've shot a 900 before. You've won it before. It's supposed to be super duper, or not super duper easy, but it's, you've done it before, so why can't you do it again? But um, there are so many factors in archery, as you know, and I think just you want to do it so bad, and what comes after a win and how great it feels. And I think chasing that feeling is also what kind of gets you nervous, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah. Because, I mean, we obviously all do it because we want to win,
Right.
and nobody does it because they want to feel how they feel trying to win it, because we're all super nervous and scared. But that feeling right after when it actually succeeds, that's why that's one of the main reasons we do it, because it feels amazing.
I
What
wouldn't know.
what same
Yeah.
uh, what does your practice and training routine look like these days?
So I shoot 6 days a week. I normally keep a, like a travel day kind of. Um, so on like for ASAs. we finish on Saturdays. Sunday will be my travel home day, and I'll take that day off, just to kind of let the body restart and everything. I like to shoot somewhere between 100 to 200 arrows, depending on if it's right before an event, or if I have a lot of time, then I can kind of up my arrow count. If it's like the day before or 2 days before, I'll probably only shoot 100 arrows, just because I'm trying to get my body and muscles to 100%, so they're not going to feel tired or anything. So it kind of just depends on how close together all the events are and how much time I have in between and all that stuff.
Do you augment your arrow counts with any other type of training? Do you do any kind of like weight training or any other, gym work?
So my favorite kind of like non-archery physical training is actually running. I've done it a fair bit on and off throughout the years, and I've noticed a lot that when I run like fairly regularly, my heart rate in pressure situations are lowered by a lot, probably like 20, 30 heartbeats per minute, just because my max is no longer, my max, and so I feel like that really helps me to control my bow and my shaking during like Vegas rounds or anything like that.
I would expect that it also helps with breath control.
Yep.
Your capacity, because your lung capacity is greater.
It really does, and it's one of those things that you can do fairly. A lot of times when our tournaments are back to back, we don't have a lot of time. Like I couldn't go weight training, even though I'd love to, but it takes a lot longer for your muscles to recover from weight training, at least for me, and to shoot properly after I've done that. Whereas running doesn't take the same toll on your shoulders. So I can do that a couple of days before an event. So even if we have back-to-back events, I can still run at least once a week and keep that going.
Wish I could run.
So
It's out of the question for me, but
so this is kind of a little deeper question. When the day comes when you are no longer able to, or you make the choice to stop competing, how would you like to be remembered?
Well, I think I'd just like to be remembered as someone who was fun to hang out with and nice, and always tried to help other people. Being remembered for what you won and what you did is awesome, and obviously part of it, but I would love people to talk about me as being a nice person and always willing to help.
I think they will.
that's what makes you a champion in so many people's eyes, right there.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, as an archery dad, I appreciate and thank you for not only what you do on the field, but how you carry yourself off the field. Because to Steve's point, we see you, and I have a daughter that's coming up, and I hope one day she decides to take her archery to the next level. But the role model that you and so many other of the pro women display every day is important, and we thank you.
Well, I think we really try to, just because we know we've been in their shoes. We've been the one coming up and looking for help or answers or guidance, or just not knowing what we're doing, or for women, it's such a small sport, and I think it's really important to help the ones that are in it to stay in it.
Well, I think it's awesome. We're coming up on time, and there's a couple more things that I wanted to do before we wrap up. Um, One of the things Steve and I always like to end our sessions with is gratitude, and we like to give our guests an opportunity to recognize the village of support, because we all know that it takes a village, and so so who are the most important people in your village? Who would you like to thank?
Well, I mean, and it's such a wide range of people, and it's changed throughout the years. So I'll just mention, a bunch of them, and I'll start with the sponsors because they're obviously some of the important ones. We couldn't do this without them. They, not only support me, but I know they support the tournaments, and like they sponsor events, and it would be so hard to do just archery in general without them. Um, but personally, for me, my husband has always been a big help. Um, I didn't know a whole lot coming into this, and he's taught me a lot about setting up bows and mental side of it, and just shooting in general. Martin Dansbo, he has always been there. Um, Eric Griggs has been a massive help. You won't believe how much archery knowledge he has. um, his wife Carla, um, she's been awesome, and she always helps with the backstage stuff that people don't see. Like she'll help us out and watch our puppy when we're gone, and so we know we don't have to worry about her, and just little things like that. And so it's, my parents for driving me to tournaments, all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I have one last thing to end on a fun note. This is the speed round. So I'm gonna go down a list. So just clear your mind and listen to the
Fasten your
sound of my
seatbelt.
voice.
Okay.
So
I'm ready.
I'm gonna give you choices, either ors, and you just say what's the first thing that comes to your mind.
All right.
Okay, here we go. Cook or do the dishes?
Cook.
Going out or staying in?
Going out.
Sporting event or concert?
Sporting event.
Cardio or strength training?
Cardio.
Book or movie?
Movie.
Pizza, pineapple or no pineapple?
Pineapple.
Oh,
I used to be a no pineapple person, and then I met my husband, and I thought he was crazy for the first 2 years, and now he's got me on the dark side.
man, you and Carl with your pineapple on that
Dark
pizza.
side.
All right, moving on. Flowers or chocolates?
Flowers.
Ooh, interesting. Dogs or cats?
Cats.
Cats. TV series or documentary?
TV series.
Cookies or ice cream?
Ice cream. Always.
Classic rock or country?
Classic.
Coffee, hot or iced?
Ooh, can I say no coffee?
None. Okay. Yes, you can.
I'll say tea.
All right.
Okay. Hot or iced?
Hot.
Okay. Well, you're in Kentucky now, so you got to get into the sweet tea.
Yeah, iced tea.
I'm trying.
You're not there yet?
Not there yet. Give me a couple
Okay.
more years.
Okay, fair enough. Beach or campground?
Beach.
Steak or seafood?
Steak.
Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Night owl.
Okay. For movies, comedy or scary movies?
Comedy. I
Comedy.
like to laugh.
Tennis shoes or flip flops?
Tennis shoes.
Pancakes or waffles?
Waffles.
Are you driver or passenger?
Passenger.
Okay, and this one, trick question: donuts or Danish?
Ooh. Danish. I'll have
You
to.
got it. It's gotta be. It's gotta be
There's
Danish.
no choice.
Gotta be.
All right. Well, that's the list. Tanya, thank you so much for taking the time. Please tell Braden that we would love to talk to him as well.
Yeah.
But for those that are listening that want to make contact with you or follow you, can you share your social media and like how can people connect with you?
Yeah. So I'm Tanja Gellenthien on Instagram. I think I'm the same on Facebook. There's a bigger chance I'll answer on Instagram than Facebook because the Facebook messages, they kind of disappear. They end up somewhere and poof. But yeah, Instagram is better.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's a wrap for this session, Steve.
It is. I know we had a little bit of a technical glitch in the middle of this one, so hopefully it all panned out. And if anybody's watching this, apologize for that, but things happen. So, Tanya, again, we appreciate you so very much taking your time and hanging with us and helping us understand who you are better. And man, we just wish you the best of luck with the pregnancy and competitions and just life in general. You're an amazing person. We appreciate you.
Well, thank you very much. I hope to see you guys at one of the events coming up.
Yep,
Yep,
Lord
we'll find
willing,
you.
we'll be there.
Sounds
That's right.
good.
All right.
All right. So again, thank you so very much for spending time with us.
Of course.